you to pay attention to this video as we review chapter 1 of LEKKI Headmaster, which is the official JAMB novel. So we'll just look at the story in chapter 1. So I will read. I believe you are following. And at the end of this video, if you watch from beginning to the end, I will show you how you can get, I will send you a copy of this book. But that will be if you watch from beginning to the end. I will show you. So let's review chapter number 1. So we'll start reading the first paragraph. Something seemed unusual in the way the principal walked to the podium from the back of the assembly. Remember, we are reading LEKKI Headmaster, right? We are reading LEKKI Headmaster. Yeah, this is the book, LEKKI Headmaster. Okay, let's continue with chapter 1. Something seemed unusual in the way the principal walked to the podium from the back of the assembly. He moved his tall frame rather ponderously. He was not as smart as he used to be. The trademark morning smile was not forthcoming. He took the microphone from N.H.S, the chapel prefect, and heard it saying nothing. This was in spite of the fact that the morning's prep talk was over and everyone was excited. Everyone was what? Excited. All waited for the principal to speak, but the man looked blankly above the students' heads instead of compellingly into their eyes the way he used to. He made an attempt to talk, yet words did not come out. So chapter 1 is actually describing an assembly in a school. As we go down, we will see point out the name of the school, the name of the principal, and some other characters, name of students, and some other teachers in the school. Remember, the LEKKI Headmaster is actually a story that happened in a school, in a place called Lekki, in a state called Lagos, in a country called Nigeria. Okay, there was a heavy silence. The principal again attempted to speak. So tears, everyone saw it. That means the principal began to cry. Okay, this time the tears trickled out of his eyes. He made yet another attempt to produce words. This time the microphone dropped on the floor, sending a vexation clatter out of the twin sound boxes at the assembly. More tears streamed from both eyes, competitively rolling down his sunken cheeks. Okay, the principal was crying. There was nowhere to hide from the puzzled looks. Then Mr. Beppo Adewale hid in the only available space. He brought his palms together like a supplicant and shaded his face. What is the name of the LEKKI Headmaster? Of the man? Mr. Beppo Adewale. I hope you can see it. Mr. Beppo Adewale. If you have been following me, let me know. Okay, we'll continue with the story. The first person who found a voice was the vice principal. What is the name of the vice principal? Mrs. Grace Ape. Mrs. Grace Ape. What is the matter? So they began to ask the principal why was he crying in the assembly. 4 other members of staff joined her, but the principal said nothing. Instead, he sobbed. He continued crying. The school nurse, Mrs. Titi, what's the name of the school nurse? Mrs. Titi fetched a handkerchief and offered it to the weeper. Please conclude the assembly and let the students go into their classes immediately. That is what the VP said. The VP instructed the chemistry teacher. The name of the chemistry sister is Mr. Justus Annabel. Mrs. Ape, the nurse, and Mr. Oyelana, the CRS teacher, the CRK teacher. You can be writing these things down. And by the way, when I send you this novel, the LEKKI Headmaster, you can read on your own slowly. I will send it to you, but it will not be free. So if you need me to send it to you, just watch from beginning to the end so I can tell you how you can reach me to be sent to you. Okay? Sir, what is the matter? Mrs. Titi, or Nurse Titi, as she was fondly called, asked. As they helped Beppo that is the principal, Adewale Beppo, to his chair in the office. Is anything the matter? She asked again. Beppo did not utter a word. The tears did not stop flowing either. At 8:05 a.m., more teachers arrived to console the sobbing principal or possibly lend a helping hand, but the VP advised they go to their classes, expecting the guidance counselor, Mrs. Beke Egbin. What's the name of the guidance counselor? Mrs. Beke Egbin. Okay, you will still need to write these things out, right? You will still need to write these things out, the characters. Okay, let's continue. Consolation and question resumed. For over 30 minutes, they petted Beppo. All the while, he sobbed. Occasionally, he would shake his head. He would look at the ceiling and at the faces before him, as though he had just returned from a dreamy wonderland. Then he would plunge further in tears. The VP's phone, meanwhile, had been ringing. Information had already reached some parents. They were anxious to know what had happened to the beloved principal. So actually, the parents loved the principal of the school. One parent learned he was weeping uncontrollably and rolling on the floor. Another parent heard that he kept muttering, Oluwa Bamio, that is Yoruba slant. And what does that mean? It means, save me, oh God. Something must be wrong with our principal. Okay? At this point, Mrs. Ape realized the best he could do was to call the managing director, Mrs. Obiodun Gloss, popularly called MD, who, but for a function she had to attend that morning, ought to have been in school. Okay? I hope you can picture what is happening here. The principal was crying. He is not talking to either the vice principal or other staff that were there. And the vice principal had to call the MD, managing director of the school, okay, Mrs. Ibidon Gloss. But the morning assembly had not begun on a tearful note. Since the management of Stardom School came up with a shrewd incentive of lowering its boarding fee, the headmaster it used to have, trying to tame lateness, had reduced greatly. The headache it used to have had reduced greatly. From 250,000 naira per section, the fee climbed down to 165,000. The result was instant. More than 80% of the parents moved their children to the boarding house. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. Okay, that was far from the case before the policy change. Many of the learners came from different parts of Lagos, where the fear of heavy traffic was the beginning of wisdom. Interestingly, not many parents complained when the school almost immediately raised the fee for excursion and other items by 93,000. Some staff gossiped about this, especially Mrs. Audu, the fine arts teacher. So what's the name of the fine arts teacher? Mr. Audu. He cleared his throat, pushed a finger into his mouth, drew it out and pointed skyward. In matters of economics, he quipped, I swear the MD is a witch and wizard rolled into one. Okay, let's get back to the principal. The assembly, okay, let's get back to what happened in the assembly before the principal started crying. The assembly had commenced early. The early school, that means the school is one of the best. Located in the posh heart of Lekki, is located in a part of Lekki that is for the rich, a wealthy part of Lekki. Of course, you know Lekki is in Lagos. As usual, began the ritual with a short prayer in the form of a recitation of the second stanza of Nigeria's national anthem, O God of Creation. Okay, so that's basically what happened in the assembly that morning. NJ announced it was time for the pep talk. Pep talk is like morning information in some school. The principal Mr. Beppo Adewale has introduced this pep talk some time ago. So a student called Ikenna Ebu in SS1 was the one that came to address them. What he actually talked about was an excursion they went to in Plateau State. An excursion that the school went to in Jos, Plateau State. Okay? So he said, I saw Nigeria in its acrobatic beauty. So let's go to our principal. Okay, we just jump the paragraphs where Iken Nebu was talking about the excursion they went. When I send you this book, the Lekki Headmaster, you can be able to pay closer attention and read from paragraph to paragraph of chapter 1. Remember, what I am giving you is an overview. I'm reading for you chapter 1 of the book. Okay. Let's continue. But of course, Mr. Beppo this morning was not, despite everything that happened in the assembly. Okay, let's look at why he was called the Lekki Headmaster. Okay. The student also expected him to highlight some terms Ikenna might not have articulated so well. They were eager to hear something special from the tall, light-skinned principal, nicknamed the Lekki Headmaster, because of the way. Okay, he was nicknamed the Lekki Headmaster. Why? Mr. Beppo Adewale was nicknamed the Lekki Headmaster. Why? Because of the way he used to imitate characters in the old TV drama, Village Headmaster. There is a TV drama called Village Headmaster. Mr. Beppo Adewale, their principal, used to imitate him, and then began to call him the Lekki Headmaster. I hope you got that. Okay? Because, of course, Mr. Beppo this morning was not on top of the world. He was under the world of tears. At her office on the second floor of the admin building, the MD aimlessly removed her glass, okay, where they were trying to, the MD has now returned. On the previous day, the school has celebrated 90% success in their WAEC exam, okay, which they appreciated the teachers with 20,000, bought snacks and bottled wine for them. Okay. Following the arrival of the MD at about 9:30, the MD had invited Beppe to her office, asking what the problem was. 30-something minutes later, he had yet to state any reason for his distraught disposition. Instead, he kept muttering, "Thank you, I will be all right." Mr. Beppo, that is the principal, you keep saying you will be all right, but you are not saying what the problem is. You are aware that given your position in this school and the excellent performance you have always put up, you are central to everything that goes on. You are supposed to be the embodiment of sanity, the balm to troubled nerves. In many cases, these are what you have been. But why would you suddenly turn the source of our anxiety? Madam, the principal tried to talk. Then he broke down and started crying again. The MD became more agitated. She picked up one of the 3 handsets in her table. She made a call, which 3 minutes later produced the physics teacher. What is the name of the physics teacher? Mr. Opewande, who was also a pastor. The guy said, "I am here, ma." One day said as he's working, he had missed the morning assembly. And beside the gist gathered from colleagues, he was only seeing Beppo for the first time in the day. "Beppo, I hope all is well," he asked. "Not really, and that is why I invited you." Okay, the CRS teacher was also a pastor, like our own here. Okay, I hope you are following. By the way, if you want me to send you this book, The Lekki Headmaster, which is not free anyway, but if you want to get it, I can share it with you. It's not yet available to the public, but we were able to get it from our sources in JAMB. If you want to get it, just like this video, share this video, then subscribe to our YouTube channel, Noble Tutorials. Once you subscribe, come under this video and type "I have subscribed." I have subscribed. Once I see I have subscribed, I will chat you up so that we can send a copy of this book to you, okay, so that you can pay more attention to it. Now let's see how the chapter 1 ended. So the pastor spoke to the principal for 10 minutes. Realizing he might have been talking to a brick wall, that means the man is not talking, he turned to the MD and said, "Ma, have we called Mr. Beppo's wife? I think we need to, and urgently too." Mrs. Ibiodingo did not object to the idea. He asked the principal for his wife's phone number. This Mr. Beppo wrote on the back of a card. So the principal tried to call the wife of the principal. I mean, the MD tried to call the wife of the principal. Principal's wife Principal's wife now lives in London, ma. So the principal was living in London. I should know. I wonder if he has not been missing her badly. The comment was supposed to be a joke, yet it elicited no laughter. None of the two lines the MD died rang. Pastor, please accompany the principal to his office. I think he has to go home. I understand, Mr. Wanda, the pastor said. But I think there's a little problem with that. It might not be a very good idea if he is left to go alone in his circumstance. The MD understood the sentiment in the teacher's fear, but he felt pressed to move the drama away from the school as soon as possible. What would the parents think if they learned the principal was weeping like a child? The school, an impatient spirit told her, was not a rehabilitation center, but a place for learning and earning money. Please guide him to his office and arrange to take him home, she said, emphatically adding, I learned that the guidance counselor was with him earlier. Perhaps he can go with him. He might also visit the clinic ASAP. Okay, before we go into chapter 2, in the next video, we will begin to read and review chapter 2 of this book. The title is The Enticement. But then, if you have shared this video and liked this video and subscribed, just come under this video and say, I have subscribed. Once I see your comment, I will send you this book for you to read. Then you can also watch the next video for chapter 2 of the Lekki Headmaster.